Welcome back to another episode of TVGP's Critical Misses. I'm your host, Boston, and joining me as always is Moonpear.
Hi, friends, the patrons.
Moon is here, excited about John. He broke out the the White Doves. It's a John Woo movie.
Uh-huh.
Let's get going.
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about this, shall we? First and foremost,
Yeah, let's talk
because
about 2000's Mission Impossible 2, a very 2000 movie, as I recall.
yes,
Directed by one John Woo.
Likes his pigeons.
Loves them. Just chucking them everywhere on screen.
So I think I mentioned it. I can't remember if it was like just chatting with you guys or recording something. I have seen two John Woo movies.
Okay.
This is one of them.
Okay.
Can you name the other one?
It's got to be Hard Boiled, right?
Nope.
Wow. Okay. Face Off?
Ding, ding, ding.
Okay. I was trying to think of what his other big movies were.
So Asian cinema is very much a weakness of mine.
Sure.
There is a section of Asian cinema that I am aware of and a huge fan of because my buddy Steve from England, he was very much 6 feet deep into Asian culture when we were in college. One might even say he was a bit of a weeb, and that's fine. He still is a bit of a weeb. He has model printies too, to give you an idea.
Sure. Sure.
And he was the one who introduced me to a whole bunch of movies like Oldboy, the Vengeance trilogy,
Gotcha.
the live-action superhero remake of a famous Japanese hero that everybody hated, but I adored. I think Newsom likes it too. Can never remember the name of the hero it's based on because they all have similar names.
Yeah. Is it like Ultraman, maybe?
Probably. It's probably something like that. But it was like a CG nightmare that Kashan, maybe? Is that the thing
Kashurn. Yeah. What a cool film. I
love that movie.
Kashurn.
Everybody seems to hate it, but I love it. Also, how did that spring into my head after 15 years?
Oh, I don't know. The word we're using all the time, Kashurn. Yeah,
but that's weird. That's a very strange memory loop there. But yeah, like he introduced me to a lot of stuff like that. Things like Requiem for a Dream is because of him.
Right.
So yeah, my Asian cinema of the 80s is really low, and anything after like early to mid 2000s is probably really low too.
Okay.
But yeah, I've watched Face Off, and obviously I've also seen Mission Impossible 2.
Right.
If you're gonna watch two John Woo movies, why not make it his worst two? Apparently.
Well, I remember seeing this one. I don't remember if I saw it in the theater. I was in college at this point. So either we saw it at like the Dollar Theater, so it would have been a really bad screen, or we saw it as soon as it came out on maybe VHS, maybe DVD at that point.
It was probably David. Oh Lord, that's a Steve thing as well. Thanks, Steve. Now you're in my head, and I'm using all of our old phrases. DVDs equals Davids.
Gotcha. Yeah, looking here, it was released on VHS and DVD on November 7th, 2000. So probably watch it on VHS. If we watched it on anything.
I can tell you the two reasons why I watched this movie.
Okay.
Metallica and Limp Bizkit.
Yeah, Limp Bizkit doing their take on Mission Impossible theme called Take a Look Around, which I remember having a soft spot for.
I really like it still. I have a heavy metal playlist on my in my car, and it's on Pandora, I think, or Spotify, whichever one of the two I have installed. And every now and again, a Limp Bizkit song will loop into it. Okay. Most of the times, I skip them. But there's two that I won't. And Take a Look Around is one of the ones I won't skip because it's so 2000s in its metal that I'm just like, yeah, I'm fine with that. Like, let's do it. Especially the Mission Impossible theme in electric guitar. Yes, please.
Yeah. The other one is Metallica's I Disappear, which, if anyone hasn't seen that video in the last 22 years, you should go watch that. That's the one with them in the desert. It's bad. It's real bad.
Uh-huh.
Um, um, I the things I remember from this is, and again, haven't seen it in the last 22 years. Um, I remember there being a motorcycle fight.
Uh-huh.
I don't
Uh-huh.
remember. Those are the two words that are like bubbling up in my brain. It was like, Mission Impossible 2, motorcycle fight. And it's like, cool. I don't know what that means, but I'm
You are correct. There is a
okay.
motorcycle fight in this
Okay.
movie. You will know it when you get to it. One red, one black. I remember. One
Okay.
more muscle, one more sports.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've seen this movie way too many times. Um, there's a lot of dancing in this movie. There is
Okay.
motorcycle fighting slash dancing, however you want to call it.
Sure.
There
Motorcycle
is
acrobatics.
there is flamenco dancing. I remember that much.
Gotcha.
There is car dancing as well.
Okay. Bringing it full circle here with the Burgle Misses back to the Fast Saga.
Uh-huh. I I remember this movie fondly because it introduced me to Sandy Newton, who,
I had no idea she's in this. I'm a big
as
fan
a
of hers.
teenager, was like a huge crush of mine.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure.
And also, this movie does her super dirty.
Of course.
Uh-huh. She is quite literally a honeypot. And that is it.
Oh,
That
woof.
is her
Okay.
entire role.
Great. That's a bummer. She's great too. Like that's
Uh-huh.
man. Last couple seasons have just been here are great women acting in these movies. They're in here for about 2.5 minutes, and the whole time they are in trouble.
This is a
Get
Lois Lane
get Tom
conversation.
Cruise in there. Yeah, exactly. Get Tom Cruise in there to save this lady. That's a bummer.
Yes. So she is in the movie. I remember that, and I remember literally this is the reason. Like I knew about her when it came to
Hmm.
Westworld because of this movie. Because after this
Okay.
movie, I didn't see anything she did until Westworld.
Now I'm gonna have to look up what else she's been in that I have seen.
Because I honestly thought she was one of those actresses who was like, "Yeah, this movie was bad, and now I'm done." Um, but she is so good. Like everything else I've ever seen her in, aka Westworld, she is ridiculously good.
She was in Crash 2004, which is a movie that I remember despising.
Okay, I've
Um,
never seen that. That's one of the Oscar bait ones.
yes, very much so. She was in Norbit, which is just the
The Eddie
worst.
Murphy Norbert.
Uh-huh. Yeah. She was in. She was also in an Interview with a Vampire, which I don't remember uh, her being in, but I haven't seen that movie in also probably about 20 years, and I believe it's in a future season of this show. Hopefully, if not, then we'll have to put it in a cool vampire movie season. Um, the only other thing
Oh,
that
dude, she's in Interview with a Vampire, but she plays one of the slave ladies. It looks like.
oh barf. Okay, bummer. The only other thing I remember from this movie, and I'm gonna say with a fair level of confidence that it's from this one and not the third one,
Okay,
is
this is where you're wrong.
there's even more mask ripping with the
Uh huh.
cherry on top of pulling off a little like voice box strip. So it's not even
Uh
like,
huh.
haha, it was John Voight. Haha, it was me, Tom Cruise, with John Voight's voice.
Oh,
John Voight obviously isn't in it, but um, so I
this
remember
is
that being
this is
like,
this is a very masky kind of film.
right, right. So
Do you remember the villain?
the villain. No, I don't remember. I know Tom Cruise is in this.
Well, duh.
I'm fairly sure. I feel like Ving Rhames is in this.
Okay.
Obviously, we know Thanity Newton is.
Uh huh.
I don't know anybody else in this movie. I feel like the only
So I
outs. I feel like the only outstanding person from the first one that I would want to be in this movie would be Kittredge, but I don't think he shows back up in any of these movies that I remember.
No, I don't think he does. Um, I recognize this person, the villain. I know his face because I've seen him in a fair few things. Pretty sure he's a British actor.
Okay.
Um, I use the term British because he's actually Scottish, I believe.
Okay.
So I'm not going to say English and potentially I are the Scots out there.
Right.
Um, but he is a fantastic actor, and I think he does a pretty solid job about being the villain in this. He's got one line which will stick in my head forever, which
Hmm.
is smiling like an idiot every 5 seconds,
Okay.
specifically insulting Tom Cruise.
Right. I'll
So
take that.
keep an eye out for that line. Oh, do you remember who the boss of the IMF is?
Oh no, I'm not gonna remember that.
You're gonna love it when you see it.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Jeremy
Um,
Irons. Let's go.
please
Sadly not.
don't
Sadly not.
don't don't besmirch him so
That's
much.
right.
In a
No,
blink and
I'm
you'll miss
I'm
it.
not besmirching him. I'm hopefully willing him into this
Yeah,
film.
don't besmirch him into this movie is what I'm
But that's
saying.
that's true. Let's
He
not sully
deserves
his
better.
legacy. That's right.
Yeah, he deserves better, like the Dungeons
Yeah.
and Dragons movie.
That's God. Oh
And
God.
whatever that other weird movie was with the little Scottish fellow who I love from 51st State, who was the main villain. That wasn't a Dungeons and Dragons film. I think that was a
No.
YA novel.
Was it the
I'll have to
Aragon
look.
movie? Maybe.
No, I don't think it was Aragon. It might have been,
Yeah.
but I'm not
Um.
sure.
I don't. I don't remember anything else about this. I'm fully expecting going into this having it be a very late 90s movie. Um, the previous movie came out in 96 and felt.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yes. Yeah.
The 51st State has been renamed.
What?
It's now called Formula 51.
Uh, okay.
Robert Carlyle was the actor I was thinking of, by the way.
Oh, Robert Carlyle. A classic.
It's now called Formula 50. What?
That's wild. Um,
They probably got sued, would be my guess.
probably. Um, so the previous movie felt very early 90s from a tech standpoint. Um, I'm expecting this to be kind of a late 90s, but maybe kind of a forward-looking early 2000s kind of tech sort of thing, because tech stuff around that time was kind of neat if you were doing their version of kind of futurism. So I'm kind of excited to see what
It
their
was Aragon I was thinking of, by the way.
It was
That
Aragon?
is the movie that has Jeremy Irons and
Poor
Robert
Jeremy
Carlyle.
Irons. Woof. So I'm kind of interested to see what the kind of forward-looking futurism idea of tech in 2000 is going to be in this movie.
Well, they smoked on a plane in the last movie, so
Right, right, right. Well, you got to cover up the beta tape bursting into flames. But yeah, that I'm kind of excited about. I guess probably in all of these movies, I'm kind of excited to be like, what do you think the future of tech is going to be in the year 2000?
That's I know there's a couple of things in here which is pretty solid. I like the
Yeah.
intro to this movie. I'm not going to lie. There's some interesting music choices. I'm fine with them because they're so dumb and I still like them.
Sure.
I distinctly remember the beginning of this film so vividly. Like, I know exactly what happens at the beginning. The middle I'm a little fuzzy on, and the end I'm just like, whatever. What's the mission? It's the impossible mission for us. We should ask this question too. What is the
Yeah,
mission?
that's true. What is the impossible mission this time? When did the Bond movie come out that had it was like Tomorrow Never Dies? The Pierce Brosnan movie, the third one maybe?
The one that has Carlisle in it.
Is that how all these episodes are gonna go today? It's just all of them are gonna loop
50
in
Shades of
on top
Robert
of each other.
Carlyle.
Yeah. Um, I
The World Is Not Enough is the one he was in.
World is not enough. I feel like I don't remember the plot of The World is Not Enough. We'll get there eventually in one of our marathon um, Bond seasons. But I feel like the scare du jour at the time was uh, like some sort of viral outbreak. Like, oh, they have this highly evolved version of some botulism that Moon has his thumb up and he's nodding.
Oh,
Apparently, I've
yeah.
struck gold on the early 2000s scare of, oh my gosh, this virus from the Congo is now loose. The bad guys have it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
20 years too early, apparently, with the
That's right.
2000s.
That's right. Division 2 wasn't even a gleam in Tom Clancy's eye.
Um, oh, if only they knew what the true effects of a pandemic would be.
That's
Those
right.
books would be a lot darker.
Mission Impossible 2 predicted the money flu.
Uh-huh. I remember Bellerophon.
Bellerophon?
Uh-huh. It's a
Okay.
Greek myth. I can't remember the other side of it. I
Okay.
think Bellerophon is the cure, like the master cure for all diseases, essentially.
Okay.
And Chimera, I think it is. I want to say chloroform, but I know it's not chloroform, so
Boy,
it's probably Chimera.
Chimera totally sounds like something that would be in this movie as
So
like the bad virus.
yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. I think Chimera is the bad virus. Bellerophon was created using Chimera as a basis, so Bellerophon can treat everything.
Hmm.
And Chimera is the disease, and then someone steals the disease, not the
Gotcha.
cure.
So they only have half of right. Okay, that would make sense. Tom Cruise is called Chimera because it infects everything. End quote.
Bellerophon was the hero who killed the Chimera, so
That's right.
it makes sense. I think that's the legend. I don't know. I remember so much
Yeah, I
about this
don't.
movie and so little.
I don't remember.
How
Well,
many does?
yeah, I guess we remember a little bit more about this movie than expected, or it's kind of following the formula of early 2000s kind of heist action movies.
True.
Anything else you remember about this one before we go check it out?
Let's see. There's plenty of those. Oh wait, is this long hair Tom Cruise? I think this is long hair Tom
I
Cruise.
think it is long. I feel like that is like one of its things of Tom Cruise's hair whipping around on the motorcycle.
Okay, so long hair Tom Cruise.
Is this the only movie we get long hair in for Mission Impossible?
I
Because
think this is the only movie we get with long hair Tom Cruise. Period, isn't it?
okay, because the next movie doesn't come out until 2006. So that
There's a big break.
yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, it's surprising that there's. I feel like it's a maybe a commentary on the state of kind of post MCU Hollywood at the moment. But 6 years between 1, 2, and 3 feels like an eternity
Well, yeah,
compared
that's
to
also because Marvel
nowadays.
is dropping 2 movies a year and 6 TV shows a year in our lives.
2 movies a year if it's a quote unquote dry year. So the idea of like a Tom Cruise movie coming out every 6 years for like the first Mission Impossible movie was huge. Like that was a really big
Yes.
movie, and the idea of like, we'll take 6 years off. Don't worry about it. It seems like
Yeah,
a
but it's not like he did anything between Mission Impossible 1 and 2. I mean, Jerry Maguire, Eyes Wide Shut, Magnolia,
man. Eyes wide
nothing big.
shut. Yeah, just a couple of films.
Uh-huh. And then, between 2 and 3, he only did Vanilla Sky, Minority Report, the cameo in Goldmember, The Last Samurai, Collateral, and War of the Worlds.
Wow, man, Collateral, what a movie. Man, yeah, it's kind of funny how much he was really a hit maker at this point, and he's like deep in it at this point.
Does Scientology have a problem with the number 9?
I don't know, but just mentioning it has put us on a list.
Uh-huh.
He
The,
knows about the number. Get
the
him.
reason I ask is because pretty consistently from like 1999 onwards,
Mm-hmm.
like in 1996 he had two big hits, then he took a big break there. From 1999 onwards, he has released at least one major movie every single year, except for 2009,
Okay.
2019,
Uh-huh.
and then 2020 and 2021 they can be forgiven because Maverick was supposed to be out and that got delayed by like two
Right.
years.
Yeah, pandemic related things. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Interesting.
I think that's all we're gonna predict here. Let's
I
just go
think the second half of this episode is so short because we just nailed everything.
just a wild ride here. All right, let's go watch the movie.
Yup.
We're back. Let's rip the mask off. It's me
From outer space.
from yeah. That's right. Um, boy, we watched Mission Impossible 2. Huh? That's
Mm-hmm.
that is a motion picture. It's
It sure is a 2000s movie.
turns out it's way worse than I remembered. Oh boy.
Dude, it's so good. It's so good.
There's
It's great.
there's genuinely a lot to like here, but there's also a lot of stuff that feels like, boy, you guys just really made a 2-hour movie out of this, and that is
Uh-huh.
you're asking a whole lot here, man.
I will admit there are two or three moments in this movie that might be deal breakers, depending on how much you can hand wave away.
Sure.
I'm sure we'll get to them.
You
One
mean
is
like
in like the first 20 minutes.
you mean like Diet Tom Cruise calling Thanady Newton the B word constantly?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That
So there's a
there
whole lot of that in
is.
this movie, which is
That's
real
the bit I'm
rough.
talking about, folks.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. All right, we open the movie with Tom Cruise, wink, talking to. We get like we get the intro of like Bellerophon, Chimera. And it's like okay,
Chimera. Come on.
Chimera. I like that there's like 4 or 5 different pronunciations of Chimera in this movie because
Uh-huh.
nearly every continent on the planet is represented, which I kind of dig in a
Yeah.
movie from 2000. That's not common.
Yeah. Takes place in Australia. You've got a Scottish fella, you've got an American agent, you've got the English Sandy Newton, you have South
Australian
African,
helicopter guy.
yeah, South African pilot, South African bad guy as well.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, we start the movie with Diet Tom Cruise dressed up as Tom Cruise, and he goes rogue to get the virus and the antidote at the same time. I really like this scene way later in the movie, dealing with this scene with Tom Cruise being like, "Yeah, did you know he like put it in him? Do you know he injected him? You know when you crashed that
Yeah.
plane?"
The only way to, take a live virus through airport and customs is to
Right.
inject it into himself.
And I like
Clearly,
that.
you knew that.
I like that Ambrose was like, "Yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah, totally. I mean, I knew that you're dumb."
I like that because it's like I knew what it was. He just didn't know where it was.
Right. So the Ambrose and his crew crash this plane with everybody on it.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. We have to discuss how on the nose this movie is.
Okay.
Because as the Russian doctor fella is leaving the place where he's just injected himself with Chimera, there is a bunch of schoolgirls singing Ring a Ring a Rosie.
Yeah, it's pretty.
My notes here is Ring a Roses seems a little on the nose.
It's exceedingly on the nose. It's not only because it's not only as we would call here in the States, ring around the rosy. But it's not only that, but it's kids and it's school kids. So it's like
Uh-huh.
3 reasons they're pushing it where it's like, remember your mortality. It's like, oh my god.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yep, and it's also virus related,
Right. Yeah, we're
But
leaving
yeah.
the Memento Mori labs. It's like, wait a minute.
Did you catch Pyro?
I did not.
One of the people on the plane with Ambrose when he brings the plane down
Mm-hmm.
is Pyro from Legends, like the Flash Pyro. That's him.
Oh, okay. I didn't even
He has
recognize him.
hair. That's why you wouldn't
Yeah,
recognize
I
him.
wouldn't have. I wouldn't have. It's like Superman. He puts on the glasses. No idea. Just a regular
It's a
dude.
very, very young version of him, like
Oh, okay,
super young.
that's fun.
Uh-huh. But yeah, did you? I'm assuming you saw the first unmasking coming.
Uh-huh. Yes. Oh, I
Oh,
gotta start. Wait, I
speaking of
gotta start
which,
my
I was good. We both forgot about it until that exact moment. Okay,
underline one mark. Got it.
one.
We already had 3 before. So
Uh-huh.
not only I do kind of like the frustration from Ambrose here of like he did the mask rip and then he still has Tom Cruise's voice and he like rolls his
Uh-huh.
eyes and he rips it off and he goes, "Oi, governor, let's bring down this plane." That's not his
If
accent.
Scottish people hear you doing a Cockney accent, they're gonna lynch you. By the way, I'm just saying.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm Irish. Don't blame me.
Uh-huh.
So he brings the plane down and explosion. Mission Impossible 2.
I still love that song, dude. I still love the heavy metal version of the Mission Impossible theme.
We haven't heard a version of the theme that I have disliked.
Uh-huh.
And I like that there's a different take on it this time. Hans Zimmer does the score in this one, which is fine. Zimmer is fine,
Uh-huh.
and I do like the kind of
I
guitar
love the
electric
heavy.
guitar
It's
version.
so good. The jump, 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 jump. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah, okay.
it's
Give me it.
it's
Give
real
me all
crunchy
the
in a way that,
chewiness. Yeah.
yeah, like for the year 2000, you want that crunchiness of like, if it was
Uh-huh.
even 15 years later, it'd have that like wow sort of that squeal that rock
No, if
songs
it was
have now.
15 years later, it would be a synth version, dude. Come on, because it's
That's
got to
right.
go back to the 80s at that point.
It's Kavinsky's Night Call, just with oh god. I kind of like that this movie has a little bit of a credit sequence. Like we don't,
Uh-huh.
especially in 2000. I feel like that was kind of out of favor. It definitely is now. But it's nice to see, even if it was like focusing on the mythological painting that's kind of at the center of this movie, and like
Yeah.
a lot of fire. It was
Oh,
kind of
dude,
neat to see.
there was a lot of fire because it was in the credits took place in the middle of a plane crash.
I know. I mean, what else is gonna
Alert!
happen there?
Alert!
Yeah,
Alert!
yeah, it's so good. This leads directly into the rock climbing scene,
Grand
right?
Canyon.
Yeah.
Yep. Grand Canyon
Um,
Rock Climate Seed, which I the music choice is weird here, but I absolutely love this music.
you know, so I really watching this. I love a whole lot about this scene. Starting off with, you just ended the opening scene with a plane crash, and then you go into this super far away shot of Tom Cruise free climbing this giant rock with literally no music and barely any sound effects, which I think is a really cool, because
Uh-huh.
nowadays it would be, the theme would be continuing as he'd be doing this like 50 cuts a second, like doosh, 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 like climbing up the rock wall.
I like the fact that you just did the climbing motion
Watch the video version,
in,
folks.
in tune with
That's
the
right.
Mission Impossible theme.
Hey, you need a Tom Cruise that's 40 years old and a little bit overweight? You know where to find me, tvgpfans@gmail.com. If Tom Cruise wants to sign up for a Patreon, patreon.com/e1m1.
The ones and numbers.
Thank you. I really like that choice of making kind of a clean cut from the opening sequence to this
Uh-huh. The
very
dead silence.
different.
And then it does a really slow build as well, where the music fades up in the background for the new section.
Yep. And it's a fun song. It's certainly not the song you would pick, but I kind of dig it. I kind of like that
Uh-huh.
it's this odd thing, and then once he gets a
Forever, for every time I think about this movie, one of the first things that will always pop into my head is my grandma and your grandma sitting by the fire, which is a line from that song. And
right,
it always gets in my head.
it's
I
super
don't know
weird.
why.
You also have the famous shot of him sort of with his back to the rock with his muscles outstretched.
Oh
Just
yeah,
just
the
kind of
what?
taking in the view,
Uh-huh.
enjoying life up there.
Oh, that was
Um,
after the slip though. You missed the part where he wedged himself in with his knees and was just like leaning back,
what a
like super
man, what a
chill.
cool shot. Just like, yeah, man, I'm up here. I could die. It's fine. I'm just gonna rest my arms. It's like, ha.
And spoiler alert, it's Tom Cruise. So yes, he did these stunts
Oh,
with
I don't.
literally
Yeah.
one safety wire, by the way.
Yikes. Yeah, I'm surprised he had any. I'm surprised it wasn't just like, yeah, I got a super tiny parachute tucked into my belt loops.
Mhm.
Um,
If I dies, I dies.
yeah, that's all for the just release the footage. Wah! Um,
He would.
that's right. Um, yeah, so he gets a missile shot at him, which has sunglasses in there. Oh, it's the secret message, the year 2000.
I'm
Um,
sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I like the guy pointing at him in the helicopter as well. He's like, "I see you,
Yeah, it's like
rocket launcher."
yeah, it's the only dude on this rock. Yeah, it's that dude. Um, he gets his I just, when the voice started talking, I'm like, man, I know who this is. Who this is gonna drive me
Uh-huh.
crazy. Who is this? And he goes in the next scene. Yeah, it's Anthony Hopkins. Anthony
Uh-huh.
Hopkins just in Mission Impossible 2. Why not? I mean,
Uh-huh.
John Voight can't be around. Why not bring in Anthony Hopkins? Incredible. Um, Anthony Hopkins kind of half asleep in this role, which is
Yo,
pretty great.
dude. Like, it feels like the only part he gets is his blood up is the one line I absolutely despise by him. So we'll get to that soon enough.
Oh, okay. Is
Um,
that in this scene or later in the movie?
it's in his next scene when he meets up with Cruz after the recruitment phase.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
but I
Um,
do love the double the flip reverse for the end of the movie. When on the official communique, he's like, "Next time you go on vacation, please let us know where it is."
mhm.
And as he takes off his glasses, he's like, "If I told you where I'm going, sorry, it's not a holiday." I don't know why they say holiday. He's in America. They're both
Right. It's
Americans.
yeah.
It's weird.
It's odd. Yeah.
And then he throws the glasses away to
Yeah.
of theme tunes. But at the very end of the movie, Anthony Hopkins says, "When it's not an official, don't worry. If you told us where you're going, it wouldn't be a holiday."
hmm Yeah. Um. Yeah. So they get the debrief here. Find out that Tom Cruise and the scientist Vladimir Nekrovich,
I
Vladdy.
think that's right.
Yeah. Um, they
Who
do
I'm
the
not sure is a real person, by the way. I'm still convinced that that's just Tom Cruise in a mask. I'm just saying.
yeah for the whole movie. It's just like it was me. It was at the post credit sequence. It was still me. Um, they get the data dump again about kind of the full story about Bellerophon and Chimera and what they do and all that stuff. Um,
Well, they don't
and
get exactly what it is. They just know it's Bellerophon and Chimera. They don't know until later what it
yeah,
is.
it's bad. This one's good. We think you should probably go get them. Also, swing by and get Thanity Newton while you're at it. She's a thief. You'll need her.
Any
Um,
any of the two teammates you want, but your third one has to be this one, who is a civilian.
right.
Um,
Naya is
I
her name.
I have I have put a lot of dancing references in my notes here, by the way,
Okay.
because my next note here is flamenco dancers.
Sexual tension flamenco dancing. The old
Uh-huh.
classic. Yeah. This is all a fairly good scene with the Tom Cruise kind of like stalking her, not in like at the police way, but a like a like a jungle cat sort of way, where they're kind of flirting on the dance floor. She goes and does the tries to go steal the necklace.
Yes, the ridiculous necklace with the ridiculous shaped jewels.
Mm-hmm. With the scene that has the most sexual tension between another person and Tom Cruise on film, just I think probably the only one on film.
Which is ironic considering he did a film called Eyes Wide Shut.
Oh, I always forget about that. What a ride! That will probably come up in a future season, I'm sure of something. But yeah, they she steals it, tucks it away. He catches her and has her return it. They get into a, a car chase slash race the next day.
Car dancing, thank you very much.
Car dancing. Yeah, we have motorcycle dancing, unfortunately, later. So we might as well have
Spoilers.
some
It's
car
literally a
dancing here.
note.
It's a John Woo movie. You know it's coming. Shockingly, there's a bunch of pigeons later, too.
I do like the fact that like he brings the cell phone in her car, and she's like, "How did you get this number? Like, I don't even have this number."
I like his response of like, "Do you
Would you
want the
like
number?"
it?
Yeah. It's like, all right, that's pretty good. Because the like, I don't even have this number line is sort of not great, but him turning around and be like, "Oh, do you want it?" That's really good. They have a car chase. They have a car crash. Do some smooching. She says,
Spinning circles,
yeah,
slow orchestral choral music kind of
that's right.
thing.
Sure, I'll work with you, I guess.
Alongside
They
other things.
right, Samooch. They Ethan finishes the team with the other two people. Thankfully, Luther comes back. Ving Rhames coming back as
Uh-huh.
a much more
I
fashionably dressed hacker this time.
I don't think we meet Luther and Billy until after we meet what's his face again? Crap. I always forget his name. The boss, basically.
Anthony Hopkins.
Yes, we
Okay.
meet him again, and he basically.
Oh yeah, because he says like, "Oh, you thought I needed her as a thief. Oh, you thought I needed to steal her. No, you just need to have her sleep with this bad guy." And Tom Cruise is
Uh-huh.
like, pardon?" Um,
Mm-hmm.
and
Along with the line, she's a woman to go to bed with a man and lie to him. She's got all the training she needs. And
yeah,
it's
and I
like,
was like, "Ay,
really?
yeah, yeah, yeah."
Really?
Movie hates women. Yikes.
Uh-huh.
Yikes. Yeah, there was a good line from Anthony Hopkins. He just kind of spits at Tom Cruise of like, "Oh, maybe I didn't explain that, or maybe you misunderstood." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah,
Throwing
maybe I
throwing shade.
misled you, or maybe you misunderstood.
Yeah, throwing
It's
some of
like,
that IMF shade. Okay, cool.
uh-huh.
Interesting. Um,
I'm sorry, but do you think it's going to be difficult to get her to want to do it? Yes. Well, good, because this is an impossible mission, not a difficult mission.
yeah,
Difficult should be a walk in the park.
it's not mission difficult. It's mission impossible. It's like great. Thank you, thank you. Someone who wrote that line for Anthony Hopkins, and I want to kiss you on the mouth. It's so good.
Mhm.
He hates every moment of
It's
this movie.
weird. Like it's like literally one of the best lines in the movie, followed by one of the worst,
Uh huh.
or flipped around, I should say. One of the worst by one of the best. It's just like, come on.
Yeah, there's so much of this movie that just nakedly hates women, and it's really weird. It's
I didn't I tell you beforehand that Sandy Newton would be wasted in this movie.
yeah. I mean, she's wasted and hated, so it's a real one-two punch there. Um, yeah. So
Yes, Luther and Billy.
yeah, Luther
Billy's
and
great, by the
Billy.
way. I love Billy.
Billy
He's
I like him just
just
landing and being
insane.
like, "Hey, what's up going on? Hey, see you later, bye." And I like that Luther's just like, why am I here and why am I here with that guy? Like,
Uh,
immediately hates this dude.
you put me in a helicopter with this dude.
Uh-huh. And it's sort of a bummer to see Ving Rhames also feels a little bit wasted in this movie, sort of compared to the first one, because it seems like his role in this one is a lot more of everything is in trouble and I'm hacking at the last second, as opposed to in the first one, tippy tappy typing, boom, you're in. Like he had
Hmm.
it on lock in the first movie, and I don't like in this movie that the tension and like the static of any of these missions is hinging on him having trouble. I don't that feels like a real lost from the first movie. So Ethan stakes out Biosite, which is a really good fake
Oh
biochemical
yeah,
company name.
it wouldn't surprise me if that existed in real life by this point in time, to be completely
Probably,
honest.
yeah.
Uh, but yeah, they also basically just arrest Thundy, Naya, and then Sean goes and rescues her because, of
Right,
course, why not?
right.
Which,
He's Diet Tom Cruise. He's got to break his girlfriend out of prison.
like, say what you want. I think Dougray Scott, however you say his name,
I think
I
that's right.
think he, I think he is a very good bad guy in this because I hate
Yes.
him so
Yeah.
much.
He has
From
such a
moment
punchable
one,
face, man.
I hate him. Like
Mm-hmm.
the scarf snatch as well is one of those
Oh,
things
it's
where it's just like,
one of the worst shots in this movie. I hate that shot so much. I remembered it as soon as it happened. And I was like, yeah, this shot sucked. This should not be. I also like Ethan when he said like when Anthony Hopkins was like, "You were there. I had Sean Ambrose dress up as you, and he took this guy, the good doctor, down to Miami." And I like that Anthony Hopkins is like, "What'd you think of Ambrose?" Tom Cruise is like, "We had our differences." It's just like,
uh-huh.
okay, interesting.
Sean never feels like he's done the job unless he leaves a bunch of hats on the ground is one of the great lines too.
That's a pretty good line. Yeah. Um, yeah, they there's
Uh-uh.
I think this is
Racetrack
where
scene.
yeah, racetrack. There's a lot of good stuff at the racetrack here, I think. We also do see Brendan Gleeson is in this movie. Holy he's a big dude. He's a ginger. And I was like, who's that? Is that Brendan Gleeson? What the hell? Brendan Gleeson
Uh-huh.
thankfully doesn't die in the scene where he dies. I thought he was only going to be in this movie for like 5 minutes. Thankfully, he's in more of the back half of this movie.
Yeah.
But there's some pretty good stuff in here of two people watching each other in uh, some what are the two people watching each other. Like two other people are watching them, and like one other person is watching two other people, and it's like okay, we're all kind of spying on
A
everybody
nesting doll
here.
of spies is what you're
Yeah,
thinking,
exactly.
basically.
Um, and we find out that the Ambrose has shown. Oh man, what is Gleason's John C. McCloy, the CEO of Biosite?
Uh-huh.
Ambrose has shown McCloy something on an SD card.
I think
Uh,
it's Nyovich. I think it's the Russian guy's partner.
it is like
He
who helped
deliberately
develop.
infected him. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, we find out later that McCloy has uh, purposely infected the doctor's like working partner, and we find out in like 2 more minutes that it's basically the like 20 hour to you basically have 20 hours to get the antidote in you, and then it shows like he dies at like 30 something hours, 37, 34 hours, something like
Yeah,
that.
something like that, yeah.
It's not quite 2 days. But all of them are looking at the pictures and video and going like, "Ugh, boy, okay, this is way worse than we thought." Um, and I do kind of like the little, like very quick freeze frame when Naya puts the memory card back in Ambrose's pocket and he
Pocket.
catches her and then catches her
My
again
left
later. Yeah,
jacket
because it's
pocket.
in the wrong pocket, and I was like, okay, that's that's pretty good.
It's
Um,
letting you know that he's not a stupid villain. Like he
right.
knows.
I mean, he
I'm not
worked
even
for
going
the
to talk
IMF for a
about
reason.
yeah, and I'm not even going to talk about him having the argument with the guy that he clipped the finger off of, um,
Yeah, that whole thing is.
because that is again more hating women dialogue right there.
Yeah, to me, him beating up um, Hugh Stamp is his right hand
Is
man's.
number two.
Yeah, Stamp. Um, Him beating up Stamp feels very much like the puppy kicking bad guy stuff, where it's like, yeah, like you're gonna beat up your number two. Like, okay, you're a bad guy. I get it. Like, you've been abusing Thandity Newton already, so like we get it. You don't have to keep selling us. Um, So Ethan's team kidnaps McCloy, sorry. In
Uh-huh.
the there's I really like the newspaper that's in there with the like pharmaceutical
Money.
CEO dies of rare strain of influenza, and I was like, all right, that's a pretty good
Yeah.
thing. They set him up in like a fake hotel room where they tell him he's dying. Tom Cruise is wearing the doctor's mask,
Uh-huh.
and
Are we gonna write that down?
oh,
Jot it.
two.
And
Um,
we can also add in a third one in that because at the exact same time, while the doctor
oh my god,
is interrogating him.
dueling face masks. Like it's,
Uh-huh.
I do have to say, I really like the shot when it switches from. This sentence is stupid. When it switches from Tom Cruise wearing the doctor's mask talking to Brendan Gleeson, it switches over to Ambrose wearing
Uh,
uh,
Ethan
Tom
Hunt's mask.
Cruise's face mask, but he's doing that like face down super angry look. And I was like,
Oh.
that's a great Tom Cruise face we never see. We never get to see him be like, I'm gonna burn this place to the ground. It's like usually it's
Uh-huh.
just like, I'm having fun, spies, pew pew, all right.
Uh-huh.
So
Him with the pure rage.
real
Hey, who
good.
knew? Tom Cruise can act.
Whoa, whoa. We we did see a lot of that in Live Die Repeat though. He did a good job in that.
That is true. But yeah, no, like that whole double bluff reveal where it's like he takes off the mask and it's him underneath, and then it
Mm-hmm.
cuts to him in
Taking off the
outside
mask.
talking to Naya with that
Oh my
downward
god.
looking face
Uh
where he's
huh.
just very clearly pure rage, and it's just like, okay,
It's really good.
Ambrose.
Yeah, it's really stupid and it's really good. So we find out what the virus does. We
I'm,
find out
I'm,
what.
I'm I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead.
but if you know you're dealing with Ambrose and you know you both have probably doubled each other several times and you do it so well,
Hmm.
the first thing I would do every single time I got into a room with either Ambrose or Tom would be pull on his cheek.
How you doing, little buddy? Squeak, squeak, squeak.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Like that would be warning number one for Naya is like pull on his cheek.
Right. You want to
All you
tussle his hair a little bit? Pull on that thing.
uh-huh.
Yeah. So we get the full picture here of McCloy wanted to get um, Chimera out there so that he could make a bunch of money off of Bellerophon, etc., etc., etc. The usual
Uh-huh.
Silicon Valley actual things happening in 2022 terribleness. Except
Yes.
it's for us,
I'm
it's just Tesla's stupidity and not a virus.
yeah, well, also people's stupidity when it comes to that too. And
Yeah, that's fair.
American like rights to
Conspiracy
make
theories.
stuff is just like they're just like the American like manufacturing rights and patents, and
Oh,
it's just like go
yeah.
the hell away from me with that
Yeah.
crap. I do like the congratulations, I'm guilty, I'm in business to make money line is a true heartless capitalist kind of
The
line.
way he like grits that out is really good of just like, oh, I'm sorry, I want to make money in this capitalist hellscape. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, I mean, that's not good.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Brendan Gleeson plays a pretty good bad guy here. I'm sure most people have seen him in Harry Potter as, I guess, actually also a bad guy over there, sort of.
Mad Eye Moody.
Yeah, sort of a bad guy,
He's
sort of
also
not.
in 27 days later as the taxi driver, the dad taxi driver, if you want to see him as a good guy.
Ah, okay. Um, so this is where they're
The biosite break-in happens. This is the
yeah, the
tower
biosite
break-in
break-in.
specifically.
So I really, I really like a lot about the setup of this because I like that Ambrose
He knows
knows what
that
Tom Cruise is gonna
he,
do before Tom Cruise figures it out with the team. Like I think that's a
uh-huh,
really fun twist here of Ambrose being like, "Look, I'm the dude that's been playing Tom Cruise's guy forever as as his body double. This is what he's going to do the whole time because I've like studied the tapes." Um,
rather
and
than
I
harm a hair on a security guard's head, he
right,
will take the most acrobatic and stupid way in.
that's right. Um, I kind of like this infiltration. I like that they like start to draw a parallel between this and the first movie, and then they like really quickly ditch it. Um, I I really like on these
You're gonna have to
infiltration.
expand on that one a little bit. The
Oh,
parallel between the two.
because he does the dive through the
Oh
ventilation
yes,
shaft, and he does the like arms spread out flat thing for like maybe a second, and the movie's like, okay, yeah, wink. All right, let's move on. It's like, okay,
and then he
that's
does the swing in, the hit the
yeah,
wall, backflip, unclip, let
yeah.
it go.
I do really like in these scenes when he's doing infiltration that none of the footsteps make a sound. None of him like hitting the wall makes a sound. Like it really does push that idea that he really is going into this being silent, as opposed to the movie having to tell us that his feet hit the wall or that his feet hit the ground. Like, no, he's a super spy, like the best
Uh-huh.
spy the IMF has. He's gonna go in totally silent. So I kind
And
of like that.
I like as well that it's counterposed by the fact that Ambrose is coming up at the same time, and every
Yeah,
time it cuts to Ambrose, it's just like clunk, clunk, clunk,
yeah.
clunk, clunk,
Him and his
clunk.
whole crew just, what's up, guys? I'm in. Um, yeah, I, I was frustrated here at the crew is going forward with the jump, even though Luther isn't
Luther
ready
hasn't
with
got the
the hacking thing. That sort of stinks. Um, but yeah, this whole infiltration scene is pretty good from both sides. Like you said, it's this kind of cool dichotomy between the two teams. Um, Tom Cruise gets down there in the bottom. He's down there while the generators are going, so they can't do
radio
their
communications
communications.
cut off.
He starts burning up and destroying all of the chimera samples that are there, and gets to the last one, the last gun, and then Ambrose is there, pew 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 pew, and they have a whole bunch of
No,
bad
no,
guy,
no,
good
dude.
guy
We can't
chatting.
skip over. He literally has one gun of Chimera left. One gun of
Hmm.
Chimera left. And he goes into flashback scenes, which is how he figures out that Ambrose doesn't have Chimera,
Yeah,
is because he puts the pieces together from what Dimitri was saying.
right.
And like that 2 minute flashback scene is what stops him from destroying the final gun of Chimera. It's like,
Hmm.
destroy it and think later, dude. Destroy it and think later. That's all you gotta do.
Yeah, I also like Ambrose getting really pissy at his whole team about like, can we stop shooting the super virus gun for like 2 seconds, please?
Uh-huh.
Like, I really don't want to catch this thing. Um,
Yeah, I do like that entire sequence because that sequence is just like it's him fighting off the army of goons and hoodlums that Ambrose has brought with him. Ambrose
mhm,
occasionally losing his mind to them, and
right.
the back and forth between Ambrose and Hunt is actually pretty good. Like he sees
I
the
do like
reflection of
it.
Hunt smiling, and he's like, "That was always the hardest part of
Hmm.
doubling you,
Grinning
grinning
like
like
an
an
idiot.
idiot every 5 seconds."
I really like that because when he says that, it's like, yeah, this Tom Cruise is smiling like an idiot through most of these movies. This like charming grin he's got going on. Um,
And my the thing that comes back from the beginning and the end, really, because I always thought the hardest part was resisting the edge to get your gun off.
it's it's really good. It's yeah. Um, and like we have known, Naya is
Oh,
there with them.
we're not going to talk about what's his face getting the van exploded or whatever.
No, that's
But I
whatever.
do like the "what do we do, mate?" Billy asks Luther, and Luther's like, "Well, we hope that the red dot destroys all of the virus before the yellow dot makes it to the red
Yeah,
dot."
I do like that. Like it's that was a good piece. Um, let's talk about one of my least favorite scenes in this movie, hands down, where Naya picks up the virus gun and stares at it for what
Uh-huh,
feels like 15 minutes as you sit there
uh-huh.
saying, she's just going to inject it. Everyone's looking at her. The Diet Tom Cruise is yelling the B word at her. She's just going to inject it. You know what's going to happen. It's a movie. Just put it in her. There we go. She put it in her arm. Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
And Tom Cruise is like, he's staring at her the whole time, and I'm like, are you? What are we doing here? And Tom Cruise is like, Ethan is like, what? Why'd you do? What happened? It's like, oh,
By the way, I
bro.
do like the fact that we're both struggling with Ethan Hunt. Like, we just keep
It's
calling
like
him
the
Tom
most
Cruise.
white guy name, and I cannot remember it. Like, his name could be like John Charles, and it would still be the same to me. Like,
It's like, yeah, it's like Naya, Sean, Billy, Luther, Tom Cruise, like the
yeah,
cast.
Arthur Whitebread. Yeah, like, it's got everybody in it. And it's a really frustrating scene because I feel like it could be pretty good. Her line of being like, "Well, I wasn't thinking about it." It's like, "Yes, you were. We just saw like 2 minutes of you thinking about it before." It would be better if she just walked over there and was just like, ching, like right in her arm. It'd be like, that's more impulsive than kind of, yeah.
Two main complaints about this scene.
Sure.
Number one, considering I know what comes in the future, which I will talk about at the end of this, Tom Cruise would have just shot her. Ethan Hunt would have just shot her.
100%.
It's a super virus.
It's the mission. Like, he's completing the mission.
Like, especially when she's saying, "Shoot me because I am infected."
She has a gun like pushed against her chest, and he's like, "What do I do?" Ethan would be like, "Blank,
shoot.
peace."
That's what you do.
That's right.
And then even if he didn't, he blows the hole in the wall and whatever.
Yeah, he pulls like a Metal Gear Solid 1 and blows a hole in a wall.
Naya would have just jumped out the hole.
Yeah. Like, I like that he's like, well,
Ambrose isn't going to shoot you.
No.
Clearly.
We've got 19 hours and 58 minutes. We're going to get to the like, Tom Cruise's yelling voice is always entertaining. But yeah, she like stands
that was actually
there.
a pretty good impression, by the way.
Thank you. She just stands there and she's like, well, I guess I go back with the evil guy that hates me and is shooting everybody. Like, okay.
Or get a gun from Tom Cruise.
Right.
Point at yourself and walk past the bad guys.
Right. Or just run out first. They're not going to shoot you because you're the only thing with the virus now. It's one of those movie things where it's like, I don't want to be all cinema sins here, which like we really try to not. We would try to not poke holes in movies. We just try and take the ride because cinema sins is ruining the internet. But it's one of those things where it's like, this feels like it could have been done a little bit more cleanly. But again,
yeah. I mean,
I'm not a filmmaker.
Like 2 nights together?
Maybe. I mean, maybe 2 maximum at this point. Yeah. So we've got everybody escapes. Ambrose takes Naya. Ethan leaves. Ambrose. Oh god, this is the stock options theme.
So yes, this is the biosite storage place, which we got a foreshadowing to earlier when Luther was trying to pull up the blueprints for the tower. He accidentally pulled up the blueprints for this place.
Right. I forgot about that. So Ethan is sneaking in there to try and get the Bellerophon and stop Ambrose. Ambrose is shaking down McCloy for not just the 37... No. His highest price was 37 million pounds. He turned that down for the 30 million pounds from McCloy, and then was shaking him down for stock options to the tune of 51% ownership of Biosite, which would then turn from 30 million pounds into billions of pounds. Once he does, release her into the streets of Sydney. Once he Naya starts wandering the streets of Sydney, which we see later is just like a cliffside.
She goes to the cliffside. She goes out of town.
It's just it's funny because you never see her like. There's no like guerrilla pickup shots in the downtown Sydney or like anywhere. It's just like her looking very tired on a cliffside, just being like, guess this is the end
Uh-huh.
for me. I'm gonna jump in the ocean. Yeah, that works. Um, so we get a whole bunch of infiltration stuff. Finally get the pigeons. We get some sort of flying animal in this movie, which
True.
is
We did miss Tom Cruise doing his rock climbing again, foreshadow at the beginning to break
that's
into
right.
this place.
That's right.
Um,
Tom Cruise
and
is
the
way into rock climbing in the year 2000.
he 100% turns into Raiden in this sequence because he like
Right.
runs and does the shotgun kick to the guy outside and then knocks
Hmm.
him out and then breaks in. He does like a
He does
backflip
like a
drop kick at
bicycle
some point.
kip. Yeah, that like it's it's a lot of like, yeah, we got John Woo for this movie, and I was like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, but that stuff isn't, you're missing the point. But okay. Um,
Uh-huh. Yeah,
I
he's infiltrating while they're doing the whole stock options discussion.
yeah,
I do like the pipe bomb knock.
I actually kind of like a bunch of stuff in this infiltration scene. I do like the pigeons being kind of ubiquitous down there.
Everywhere.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
but they're still cautious when the pigeons get a little bit scared. So I like this kind of misdirection of, oh, the pigeons are over there, something's going on, and then he's giving the Choky Roberts to some goon. And then that comes back later when he's like hiding in that storage room or
Yeah,
whatever, and the
we'll
pigeon
get
is right
there. We'll
next to
get
him.
there. We'll we'll
Yeah,
we'll get there. We'll get there.
it's
Uh,
really good.
the because yeah, the I we have to talk about knocking on the door with a pipe bomb. Like
Yeah.
that's just
Hmm.
some quality spy stuff. I almost swore. Um, is him using the pipe bomb to knock on the door
Yep.
and then
The two goons coming
shooting
out
the
being like,
pipe bomb.
"What's going on?"
Yeah, shooting the pipe bomb to destroy the door and the goons inside.
Hmm.
And then we get, of course, the white dove flying through the fire
Yes.
while Ambrose stares at the door and Tom Cruise walks past in the background.
It's like someone had the bingo card for a John Woo movie. It's like, check, got that one. We're good. I do
That's
kind
just
of
a big
like.
cross across the entire board, dude. Come
That's
on.
right. I do kind of like the guy that they have playing the scientist that's verifying the blood and the antidote. I like him being like,
Mhm.
"This blood is loaded with chimera." It's like, all right, guess let's take it down a notch here, man. Um,
It it feels a little bit weird though that they've got an Asian dude in glasses to be the scientist, and then
mhm.
what looks like a stuffy British dude to be the finance guy. And it's like, come on.
Yeah, here's like a bank nerd they have in front of this laptop. Like,
Uh-huh.
yeah. Um,
Run that man down is great.
Run that man down is a pretty
And
good
yes,
line.
this is where Stamp takes his crew and
Right.
goes to hunt down Ethan Hunt. And as they're exploring, they get probably your favorite moment, which is Ethan Hunt giving a really dirty look to a pigeon.
It's really I really like when movies have fun with scenes like that instead of like doing the like, well, that happened sort of thing. I kind of like this, like, shut up, pigeon, like, stop, like this internationally known super spy is foiled by some dumb pigeon just be like, hey, there's a dude up here, what's this dude doing, this is my house.
Uh-huh. The only person who stops though is Stamp. He's got an entire crew,
Right.
and they all run off, and then Stamp
Sam's
stops.
like, I should check this pigeon sitch out. It's like, yeah,
Uh-huh.
maybe. So uh Stamp goes to check it out, and then Stamp comes back to Ambrose with Ethan tied up
And
and
a
beaten up.
quote unquote broken jaw.
That wink.
Do we
Although,
just want to mark that? Do we want to mark the two now?
yeah, I should do. It's two at once. I do. I kind of like the Stamp, Tom Cruise Stamp, his delivery of like, he probably can't do that because I broke his jaw, and I was like, all right, you at least like
Yeah.
tried
This
to
is
explain it a little bit.
like he decks him and then he shoots him in the leg and then he stomps on the bullet hole in his leg and he's like,
Hmm.
stop mumbling. And he's like,
Yeah,
well, you can't because I broke his jaw.
I kind of like that. Like, you didn't need to explain it, but I kind of like that Tom Cruise as Stamp is sort of like, I broke his jaw.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we find out that Stamp
Uh, uh,
is
uh,
the
uh.
one wearing Go ahead.
Uh-uh. This is what's known as getting your gun off.
Oh, yeah. That's pretty good. I forgot
Uh-huh.
about that.
And in the fracas, Stamp leaves.
Right. This is the reason I don't remember that is because this is where I tune out of this movie because the rest of the movie is bad. Um, yeah, Stamp. Tom Cruise wearing Stamp's face escapes with Naya's chimera-laden blood and Bellerophon,
Uh-huh.
and then fights a whole bunch of dudes and shoots a whole bunch of stuff, and then hey, there's a motorcycle.
I
I'll hop
I
on that
love
with
that
my
reveal,
leather
by the
jacket.
way. Like that Ambrose realizing that Stamp is actually Tom Cruise, and as he as he sprints around and then like rips off the mask, and that's when the music kicks in. Is
Yep.
like as he rips off the mask, that's a really great shot and a really great reveal.
Yep.
And I totally didn't realize that Tom Cruise's cool leather jacket for the rest of this movie was actually Stamp's cool leather jacket for the rest of the movie.
Oh, I didn't put that together. Right. 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 Um, yeah. So Tom Cruise is like kicking and shooting a bunch of people, and Ving
Uh-huh.
Rhames is shooting a grenade launcher at a bunch of mid-sized sedans from the '80s that are racing around Australia.
A wooden bridge, by the way.
Would man, I don't know.
But
There's a whole
that fool put a hole in my Versace, boss. He
that's
put a hole in my
that's a
Versace.
that's a pretty good delivery from Ving Rhames on that line. It's a pretty cheesy line, but I think he sells it. Um, yeah, man, I don't like the rest of this movie. Really, I think there's some cool stuff here with Tom Cruise kind of weaving in and out of cars on a motorcycle. That's always going to get me. But like,
There's the rear view mirror shot when he takes a shot and aims using his rear view
yeah,
mirror on the side.
that's not bad.
There's the blocking bullets by doing the standing next to the riding bike motion.
Yeah, it's like the motorcycle jousting scene is not
Uh-huh.
great. Um,
I do like the tire smoke to obscure the fact that there's an 18-wheeler about to wreck you
that's not bad.
moment.
Yeah, that's not bad. I do also kind of like that shot. I feel like it's kind of a classic shot of Tom Cruise with the back wheel up and him kind of spinning the gun around to blow
There's
up
so
that
many
car.
motorbike noises in this sequence,
Yeah.
and that specific section, I just know it's like. And
Yep. Yep.
it's not a
Um,
solid thing. It's a very clearly someone trying to do a stoppie, and it's like, okay, cool.
yeah. Tom Cruise runs into like a rusted out car for some reason in a really inexplicable shot. Um, and the scene that I remembered from this movie is the two of them are like their motorcycles are racing towards each other, and then they jump off and they mush together in a loving embrace in the middle of the air, and then they fall down on this sandy
Uh-huh.
beach. It's so stupid.
While the bikes explode. Don't forget the
Yeah,
bikes explode.
I laughed out loud while sitting here in my office watching that, and like it's bad enough for the both of them to jump off. It's bad enough for the both of them to just like mush together, but both of the motorcyclists exploding was just it's too much for me, man. It's just
Uh-huh. Which, by the way, my entire note for this sequence is bike dancing,
yeah,
and
100%.
my entire note for the next sequence is sand dancing.
Yeah. It's it's like
It's fine.
it's halfway to a really good action scene, like a really good fight scene, but it feels like Tom Cruise is playing an actor in a John Woo movie as opposed to, hey, John Woo had me do all of these cool kicks and flips and spins. Like it doesn't feel earned, maybe is the right word. Like it feels kind of hollow.
Uh-huh.
Excuse me, which is a real bummer for some of the cool stuff he's doing. It's just maybe the editing isn't great. Maybe there's some punches and stuff in this movie that don't land quite as heavy as they maybe should from like a sound effects standpoint. I'm sure it's some of that too. But the whole thing is really weird and kind of weak.
Do you think this movie was 11 years too soon?
Um,
Because for context, 11 years later is Fast Five.
I don't think it's 11 years too soon. I feel like it's kind of. I just feel like if someone had edited it differently, like if there was. The thing that I love to see in martial arts movies or Eastern action movies is that side shot where it's just the two actors fighting each other in an extended scene. And to me, that's what I like so much about kind of martial arts action movies is that cool, like the bad guy and the good guy are finally fighting and you get to see them fight as opposed to cut, you know, like that kind of
Yeah,
really fast.
you want the long shots,
I
like of
really
people
do.
actually.
Right.
Okay.
Especially when you have John Woo directing this stuff, like he's going to put some cool looking stuff in there, and I feel like the fight between the two of them once they get off the stupid motorcycles just doesn't look as cool as I would expect it to be at this point.
Oh,
Yeah.
and this sequence is also Tom Cruise being an idiot again because that knife was literally a half inch from his eyeball. By the way.
Oh my god, that shot, like I genuinely don't have problems with stuff like that. Something about the way that John Cruise, sorry, it's my father's name. Something about the way Tom Cruise is blinking, like halfway blinking his eye
And the
as the
eyelash is touching the blade.
oh my god, like I just like hurled upon myself in while I was watching that. I was like, oh, that's real. Oh, that's bad. Oh, Tom Cruise,
Uh-huh.
stop doing these things. Ah, um,
So it was attached to a safety cable that was very carefully measured to stop at exactly that point.
oh, I don't like it.
And he told the guy who plays Ambrose, use all of your strength. Just do it all. Come straight at me.
Okay. Oh, Tom Cruise, you're so stupid.
He's
God,
insane.
he's crazy, man. Um, I do, I do kind of like Ambrose's line of like, ah, knife. Well, there's worse ways to go. I was like, okay, that's pretty. You know what's coming. All
Uh,
right, sure. Tom Cruise isn't
but
gonna
then
do it
he
because he's stupid in this movie, but
but
sure.
then he also throws in the line it's about there's worse ways to go is much like that. Naya is about to go.
Him just like getting one more of like Naya, that B word. It's just like, bro, just let Tom Cruise kill you, please. And of course, Tom Cruise
Mhm.
doesn't because for some reason, feelings are more important than the mission in this one, I guess. Um, which, although does lead us to the kind of cool but kind of nonsensical scene of him kicking the gun out of the sand and then turning around to shoot Ambrose with it, which is a pretty cool shot, even if it's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, it's fine. Whatever.
It's a cool thing where it's like, yeah, man, look at that sand. There's a gun in there. All right, yeah, cool. Um,
Yeah.
at some point, Luther and Billy pick
Billy.
up Naya from the cliffs of Sydney. Um,
Oh. Track
and
ahead, bring her back to me.
right, right. Um, and they get Bellerophon into Naya, and they save the day. Kill
Uh-huh.
Ambrose, and
Uh-huh.
the I kind of like we get to see Anthony Hopkins again at the end doing kind of like the debrief, and I kind of like Anthony Hopkins being like, "This is it's really weird. Her blood doesn't have any chimera in it, not even the antibodies. That's awfully weird. Do you know how that happened?" And he's like, "Nope." It's like,
Yeah, and
okay,
he's like well, I understand that you recovered the sample of
mm-hmm,
Chimera, but then it was destroyed.
mm-hmm.
Why? Did that happen? And he's like, oh, by fire. It's the best way usually.
Yeah, that's true. Um, and then he goes off on a vacation in Sydney with Naya. Credits.
So
Metallica song.
yes,
Um,
before we delve into what we thought,
mm,
two butterfly effect things that happen from here.
okay.
After her experience on this movie, Sandy Newton took a break to focus on her family,
Okay.
which explains why she never shows up in this franchise again.
Right. I I I I don't know what it says about these movies. Maybe because I've seen too many Bond movies and of the ilk, I fully expect her to be dead at the end of this movie and just be like, well, that's why she's not in any more of these. She died. This movie hates women. She's got to die.
Apparently, she was considered to come back for the love interest in 3 and onwards.
Okay, interesting.
Which, when we get to 3, it will make sense why she would be there in that case.
She shows up in the much better Rock and Rolla in the future, which is an incredible movie if people haven't seen it.
The second butterfly effect thing, which is something I'm kind of glad happened because of, well, what I'm about to tell you. She was originally supposed to be in Charlie's Angels, the 2000.
Oh,
Charlie's
wow.
Angels.
Okay. I didn't know that.
But because this went over, she had to drop out. Now, I don't know who they replaced her with, but I'm assuming she would have been one of the 3.
It's safe to assume, yeah.
And I'm kind of glad because I'm sorry, but there's no more. There is no iconic of a trio like those 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I nothing but respect for Thandi, but I don't think she could have fit into that crew as well as that crew currently exists.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man. Mission Impossible 2. There's a lot in this movie that I think gets close to being really cool. And it's too long. There's
The original cut was 3 hours and 9 minutes, dude.
Jesus Christ. The first one feels long, but you have a lot of stuff going on. You have like 3 or 4 big kind of either spy pieces or action pieces that go on. Even like the Langley infiltration in the first one is very long, but it's tense the whole way through.
Yeah.
I feel like we didn't really get that in this one. There's just a lot of stuff. You spend a lot of time at the racetrack. You spend a lot of time at a bunch of other places. You spend a little bit of time at the biosite infiltration. Like it feels a little bit less balanced than the first one did. And then I don't want to reprise it too much, but all of the stuff we talked about earlier of our frustrations about additional scenes is kind of, we've covered that already. But what do you think about Mission Impossible 2 on another viewing?
It's so dumb. Like, this is a very, very, very dumb movie. I love the dumb aspects of it. I genuinely do. I like the dumb bike fight. I like the dumb, like, grenade launches to cars on wooden bridges and the bridge is suddenly fine. Like, hey, sure, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I think most of the spy stuff is good. You are right, though. Like, the racetrack scene goes on a little bit too long. Like, little bits and pieces here and there. There's a whole bunch of plot holes, which I don't even want to think about because it's fine. I don't want to watch a 3-hour version.
Yeah.
Hashtag release the Woo cut. Like,
that's right, that's right.
I don't care about any of that stuff. So it's like, this is a perfectly fine, dumb action movie. And it would probably be better if it wasn't for the bitter, bitter taste that all of the sexism leaves in my mouth every single time. Because this movie is rife with it.
Yeah. Like we've been saying, this movie hates women from top to bottom. Just everything about anything about women. It sucks real bad.
Yeah.
Rotten Tomatoes score, 335,000 people, 6.1 out of 10. Tomato Meter gives it a 57 with an audience score of 42. 42 feels a little low. It's not that bad.
Like, if you take off the sexist stuff, this is probably a 5 out of 10 movie.
Yeah, I'm in like the 5 or 6 range. Like I think it's competent. There's some fun stuff in there. There's some good mystery stuff in there, but it's certainly not, as good as, I think the first one is a pretty solid movie, if not, dated. I can't believe we didn't talk about Tom Cruise's long hair that I'm in love with, and it's a bummer that we never see it again. Dude. It's great. I love it. Every shot where, and it feels like it's still kind of early Tom Cruise, where it's half of the shots it's all the way in his face and nobody is fixing it between takes or shots, and I dig it. Like it's really great. Yeah, Mission Impossible 2, it's fine. It's all right. So that means next episode is we're gonna keep this moving with Mission Impossible 3. Hope we'll join you. Hope you'll join us, and we'll join you for the next episode. Bye.
Bye.